It's Riikka Kovasin here, and we are doing a layout today. But first, checking that you can see and hear me. So I'm hoping everything is okay. We're doing a layout using Darcelle collection, one of the new ones from Prima Marketing, and doing a fun layout with a lot of layers and, well, sparkle and shine as well. So if you can see and hear me, please let me know. Or, well, you can't see me, but see the layout. You get what I mean. So this is something we are doing today. But first of all, I'm going to... Hi Sharon! So first of all, I'm going to show you the collection and then we're going to do the layout. It's quite easy peasy lemon squeezy in a way. A lot of layering, a lot of clustering. Some fun mediums as well. And some hot glue molding with the Darcelle mold. Hi Rhonda! Hi Kanika! As always, Sharon is here to help with any questions, and I'll go through the comments after the show if you have any questions for me. So, welcome. Thank you for joining. Whoops, so sorry. Now focus to the layout again. Perfect. And let's hope it doesn't do that during the process. Luckily, it's kind of easy to fix. But yeah. Hi, Kaita. A couple of more minutes, I think. Yeah. We'll start at 9 at my time, 9 p.m. But naturally, it depends where you are from. Hello from Pakistan. Hi. I guess it's later in the evening there. Later than 9, I think. India. Hi, Amit. Hello. Thank you for joining. It's Riikka Kovasin from Finland here. And doing a layout, but naturally you can use the same techniques and especially the collection to make any kind of project. You can make cards or journal pages or whatever is your cup of tea. South Florida. Hi Debbie. Thank you for joining. So, have you seen Darcelle yet? I think it's gorgeous. I love the dark blue tones. Hi Birkis of the collection. Hi Mari. A few words in Finnish. Hei! Kiitoksia kun tulitte seuraamaan. Niin kuin yleensäkin, niin hölpöttelen kaiken englanniksi, mutta siis suomeksikin saa kysyä. Ja sitten mä käyn kommentit läpi myöhemmin. Jos niin kun Sharon ei ole napannut niitä. Hi! So, I'll guess. Yeah, it's 9. So, let's get started. I'm going to first show you a bit of the collection and then we start working with it. So, the collection, I don't have everything, but I have a lot. So, some of the stuff I'm going to show while I work, but these are something I grabbed, which I'm not including in the layout today, but they are part of the collection. So the collection is Darcelle, and it has a lovely set of inky blue, kind of tea tones, vintage kind of, what are these, like patterns, and then this gorgeous red as well. I'm going to flip through quickly the A4 pad so you can see the patterns inside. So there's this rose print, and the other side is this gorgeous kind of bluish red with little lace detail. Then there's typewriters, and the other side, I love this blue tone. I hope it translates through the camera. Oh, let me try to, whoopsie daisy. No, not like that. Oh, better, sorry. And then this one. Little kind of notes. And the other side is a lacy one. Perfect for backgrounds, as you can layer any color on top. Then this one, which I actually used from the 12x12 pad as my background. Good. I'm so glad that Sharon has done the flippity flip again. Oh, I haven't done that before, but there's first time to everything. And then this kind of rosy pattern with lovely white background, so you can easily cut those off if you want to. And oh, just look at these little drawers. I wish I had a studio first of all, and then such lovely pieces of furniture in there. And again, this lovely blue. Perfect for journaling. You can even use this as a kind of letter, writing letters, if you dare to use it as such. But that's kind of the Darcelle papers. Then there's naturally ephemera, which I'm going to use in my layout, and chipboard stickers with lovely cameras, typewriters, and those gorgeous roses. And it's lovely and thick, so great for layering as well. Different kinds of flowers. This is just one package with the lovely inky blue tone, then the rich red and cream. Cream is always so handy. And then these, some stickers. There's lovely like notes. I especially love that one as I'm a tea addict. Life happens, tea helps. I need to use that one in a layout. And then there's two types of kind of the crystals, these sugar dots, which are a bit like flatter. You can use these even in a planner because they are not so raised. And then the normal crystals that are dimensional and sparkly and gorgeous. Let's put that one there. Those I'm going to use in the layout. So there's some glimpses if you want to see more while I work, because I'm going to use the paper pad, for example, for the layers behind the photo. Then just let me know and I'll flip it through while I work. But let's get started with the layout. So the first thing I did was to mount a bit trimmed, oops, now it's focused, bit trimmed paper to a full 12x12. Let me get the same paper from the pad. It's similar patterns as with the A4, just in bigger size, 12x12. So here's the bottom and then the layer on top. I already put the double-sided tape in the back, so you don't have to watch me do that. And trimmed, it's about 1.5 centimeters, so it's about half an inch, I guess, off the paper, so it kind of has this little edge around it. And then I distress the edge. Prima has the distress tool as well, but I'm always going for my scissors. Or then my paper cutter actually does that for me sometimes when the blade gets dull, used too much. Sorry about the noise. Then it starts distressing on its own. And never mind about that tear, I can kind of flip it like that. And it's another detail. Whoops, now you can't see anything. I really need to keep an eye on the focus. There we go, and then just one more edge. I kind of have phases. Sometimes I distress everything and sometimes I don't distress anything. So it depends. Then I just tear a couple of little details to the edge. And then let's get these attached to each other. By doing this, I get a lovely kind of frame around the page, but also make it even sturdier. Even though the Prima papers hold mediums well, if you don't like your paper warping when you add wet mediums on top, this is one kind of trick you can do to prevent that. Just adhere a couple of papers on top of each other, making it a bit thicker. So we have our base ready. Next, I'm going to have something to guide my composition. So like in this page, it's kind of running across horizontally. But here's a cluster and here's the cluster. So I'm kind of, it's showing a bit underneath everything. But moreover, it's kind of guiding me to make the composition. To me, scrapbooking or any type of crafting is kind of having fun. The huge part of it, it's the making. So I'm not afraid that I might hide underneath or all the layers underneath something coming on top that much. But it's more like just having those layers done. So I'm using 3 different stamps but 1 ink, so they all blend in together, kind of making my own collaged stamp in a way. The stamps are not part of the Darcelle collection. These are a bit older Finnaber stamps, not old, from her previous collection, but they are not part of the Darcelle. I don't have Darcelle stamps. That one was Wild and Free, I think, the rose one. And this one is Love Letter, maybe? And that's Secret Notes, the script one I'm using as last. So as you can see, I'm kind of building 2 flower bouquets on the opposite sides of the page. This rose and this rose are really similar, and they go well together, especially when I add this one. And now a bit of text. I'm trying to place the flowers where the kind of clusters are going. So there's a more heavy concentration there. But with the script, I can go a bit further away and kind of just make the background my own. So if you are joining in, thank you very much for coming. If you have any questions, Sharon is here to help. We are working with the Darcelle collection today and doing a fun layered, textured layout with it. So 3 stamps, 1 ink. So you get kind of a collage look. Then I was trying to do it differently. So I was kind of trying to limit myself putting any paint at this stage and putting it as the last detail with splashes, but I couldn't do it. So again, it's more like just giving me some kind of idea that here there be cluster and here there be cluster. This is Finnabair metallic paint Midnight Sky, gorgeous blue tone that matches the Darcelle collection pretty point on. So I'm using a silicone brush and just adding a couple of blobs of color, and then I'm using a really wet brush to get the excess paint off the brush and flick it to the page. This is kind of hiding the edge between the painted area and the unpainted area, but also bringing that blue paint across the layout. Like so, and just some droplets here. And as you can see, I'm trying to connect the two areas with a light touch. There's not a huge, whoopsie daisy, border going through the whole page, but there's place for cluster, and then something, kind of hint of the same elements in between. Like so. And while that dries, let's make a few embellishments. This is a trick I use a lot, and I think I have showed that one to you earlier, but it's maybe an oldie, but it's goodie, so let's do it again. This one, well, while the stamps weren't from the Darcelle collection, this one actually is. It's a gorgeous mold to make flowers that fit perfectly to the collection, and here they are in the layout, and I'm going to mold those using a hot glue gun. So they are going to be looking like this. Not much, but naturally we can color those. So I'm using a big glue gun, and this has been heating up for some time before I started the live. So the glue is really hot inside. So that makes it easier for me to actually fill the mold using the glue gun. If you have a smaller gun, that's also fine, but I find it makes more kind of those markings to the actual embellishment than using a bigger one. So it's easier to get a nice even coat with a hot glue gun. And if it still has this kind of teeny tiny nozzle in a way, then you can make also the leaves. So as you can see, it didn't take me that long to make two of the embellishments. Naturally, I can't pop those out just yet because they are hot melted glue, so you will burn your fingers. But if you are in a hurry, put this one to the refrigerator and you get it cooled down faster, but it doesn't take that long to cool by its own as well. So it's just squeezing the hot glue to the mold. And I really like this Darcelle mold that there's different sizes. There's the big kind of batches of roses, there are individual ones, and these teeny tiny details. So you can really, depending on the project, hi Nettan! Depending on the project, you can choose which ones to use, or then if you are doing a bigger project, you can do them all and kind of add a bigger one there and a smaller one there. So to me, that's really handy. Let me unplug the hot glue gun so it won't run to the table, as we don't need that one anymore. While the actual molded ones are now then cooling down, I can use these previously made ones, and as they are made of hot glue, they are a bit elastic, so if you need to warp them to fit to a curved surface, that's also possible, and you can easily trim the excess off just by pulling or using scissors. So really easy. Let me move this aside for a while as we color these. So they are not looking that pretty at the moment, but wait, they will be pretty. Because help comes from the Finnabar waxes. Really easy. You just need a teeny tiny bit of wax, and look, it's totally different already. Not looking dull, but a golden embellishment. And with a Finnabar stencil brush, it's easier to get the wax also to the bottom of the shapes, because this is really dimensional. Let me come up here so you can maybe see better. It has really fine details even in the leaves, and like I said, just hot glue. So the only thing you need to remember is not to use a heat tool, because they will then melt. So easy like that. Let me turn these also into golden ones, and it's just one layer. Really quickly taking the golden one and brushing it to the embellishment. Brush size, this one is 8, but naturally you can use any size of the Finnabar brushes here. The bigger the better in a way, because then you get the area covered fast. Because, well, I'm all about fast always. My friend Marcia Walk calls me Speedy Gonzales. And that's kind of my superpower, to be fast. You can leave these just as they are. I'm missing a leaf. Might it be there? Yes. You can leave these as they are, just in gold, but I'm actually showing you a trick I learned. I was teaching last weekend, no, not last, previous weekend in Finland, and one of the people attending my workshop did this, and I really felt that it looked so gorgeous that I tried it on my own as well. And it's layering brushed iron on top, because that kind of creates a vintage look. I've tried with silver on top, but that didn't quite do it for me. But she used the brushed iron color, and it's kind of, like I said, vintage kind of effect to the embellishments. So now we have metallic wax on top. This one is the vintage gold one, so they are golden. But if you want to have the two-toned effect, like here, that's done using the brushed iron on top. And for that top layer, I'm using my finger because I want to go lightly. I don't want the brushed iron to go everywhere, but just to the highlights. And to me, that's really, really, really something. I love keeping workshops because I always learn something new from them as well. Because we all think differently, have different styles. So it's always amazing. So just adding a bit of brushed iron on top. Naturally, if you want, you can use the metallic paints on top as well. But the waxes are really handy, and as they dry permanent, so you can really then get an easy coat of color to your embellishments using the waxes. Naturally, you can first, if you want a really dark kind of effect, let me grab one here. If you want this kind of effect, they are done with a different mold, but they are painted with black gesso and then metallic paint and gold on top, so totally different look. Black gesso and then waxes on top, and these on the other hand are just wax. Come on, focus. Yeah, then let's continue. So here we have our page and embellishments. So what we are missing is the photo and the layers behind the photo. What I did with that photo and the other one, in the pad, the journaling note cards, this is the 4x6 inches pad. There's this page that has a perfect photo frame. So I used that one, cut a little kind of gap here, and some of the flowers I was a bit well, lazy and didn't cut everything, and then insert the photo and secure it with a piece of washi tape, so I have kind of a photo frame instantly. And then let's choose some papers from this pad. Naturally, I could use the bigger ones, but I really find that, whoops, I don't need two, just one. These are easy to use. I want that blue tone as well. Let's get that one. Normally I do my layers behind the photo with a paper cutter, but this time I thought it'd be a little bit different and just tore the papers apart. Then let's do a bigger one. That's kind of the holding piece for the composition. So what I do, you might have seen this before, I layer the papers in my hand, and I always have one kind of bigger element that secures the other ones, so it's easier for me to hold them. If all the pieces are little teeny tiny ones, it's really hard to make the composition because then you would need more hands. So just going with horizontal and vertical, kind of adding, as I have light here, whoops, then a piece of the light one would go nicely to the bottom as well. Blue here, then let's add a piece of blue to the other side. Maybe that brown tone here, about so. Then I remove the photo, try to keep everything on its place, and whoops, use a stapler to get the layers attached. This is something I do all the time. An office stapler is really handy for tying the paper layers together. So you don't have to, whoops, I'm all out of staples, it seems. Yeah. So without you having to do too much of taping. Eventually I would staple that, but sorry, out of staples. So let's not waste time to gathering those. I'll just tape this one down to the cluster. And then this would be coming on top. And as you can see, almost all behind the photo is now gone, these layers, but I don't mind. They are there, they're kind of, and moreover, there's a place for me to place the photo. I have had a composition in my mind when I started, and I followed it, and kind of, now it's done its part. Then I'm doing a smaller one. Actually, I need this stapler. Kuulta, voit pistää tohon liitteen. My darling husband, my assistant, will provide me with more staples. It's handy that I scrap in our living room, so I can have him helping me. Actually, I should have checked it before the show. So then I did a teeny tiny one to kind of balance that one out. Let me show you from the ready version that there's a bigger on this side and a smaller on this side, kind of balancing the composition out. Thank you. Then my stapler has arrived, and just such a teeny tiny one should require only one, and everything is staying on put. So then we can attach the photo and the paper clusters. I sometimes use the foam dots, sometimes use a piece of cardboard box. It's kind of what I have at hand at the moment. Just a couple. And I don't put them directly to the edge. So if I have an urge to tuck an embellishment underneath, there's still room for me to do so. Especially if I have a piece of cardboard box, I usually do that a lot smaller than the piece I'm going to lift with using it, because then I usually get an idea of adding an embellishment underneath. So if it's securely glued down, it's really hard to try to get something between the layers. And that's the fun part with the stapler as well. As the paper layers are kind of moving, or you can lift those up, then you can again add something underneath if you want to. Then just these. Then it's embellishing time next with some Darcelle embellishments and the ones we made. And then this side up. For the sample layout, I used the big ones on this side, maybe underneath, and then this one coming towards the little cluster and then balance it out with the big one. Then this one can nicely cover that staple, and then the little leaf. So again, it's the same. Whoops, sorry. Come on, focus please. Here we go. Again, following the same thing we have going on, going from side to side. And I'm using just craft glue to adhere these. And while I could think about the embellishment so that I put everything here ready on top and then start gluing, I find it really handy to start just gluing, because then something is put. Well, I can actually get it off if I really want to, but there's one kind of thing down and I need to work around it, because again, that's faster for me. If these are now done, then I don't have to worry about them anymore, but work then around those things I have. Then a paper clip. I wonder why. Haha. Then some Darcelle flowers and maybe a few pieces of ephemera, and then the crystals. Let me show you this one. So it's going to be really kind of layered, really rich. And then these details are the last ones we are going to do. In that layout I didn't use these flowers because they seemed a bit too big, but I listed them anyway because I thought that maybe in this layout they would be the thing. Yes, I think I'm going to use that one there. And I really love that every collection has a selection of different kind of flowers, different sizes of flowers. So you have the teeny tiny ones, you have the bigger ones. So if you're doing a bigger project or a layout, it's handy to have a bit bigger, a bit smaller, and kind of just making clusters using 3 or 2 sizes. But also if you're doing a big canvas or a small card, naturally you need different sizes of flowers for those projects. So thank you, Prima, for thinking that one, that we need different flowers. I sometimes tear the leaves off, sometimes I don't. This time it felt that the green one is kind of clashing because there's already a couple of colors going on with the layout, so if I add the green still, it's a bit too much for my eye. Let's get these adhered again, but maybe this time I'll add the thread. It's just another kind of textural element. You can add it underneath those golden embellishments, or in this stage underneath the florals. And I'm not doing anything but tucking it underneath the flower and then gluing the flower on top, because that way the floss or the thread stays fluffy and soft. Because if you glue it the whole way down, like every inch of it, it doesn't look soft anymore. It loses something in the process. Here we go, and then on this side, I think somebody asked about the paper clip. It's the name of my blog in Finnish, My blog is called paperiliitin, which is a Finnish word meaning paperclip. And then the story is that when I started blogging, I blogged in Finnish, which is my mother tongue, and that's why I'm not fluent in English. But I decided to do a blog. I was pondering a long time about it, and then came the kind of question about what to call it. So in Finnish, the paperclip, or actually paperiliitin, consists of kind of two words, paper and to add. So back then I was doing only scrapbooking layouts. So it's kind of, I was adding paper to paper. So it's kind of a word play in a way. And then when it actually became really a part of my life, then I tattooed it on my hand as well. The tattoo artist was a bit puzzled at first at why I want an office supply, but when I told the story, he understood. But yeah, now I'm adding the teeny tiny ones in and kind of filling the gaps I have, and also kind of making sure that there's blue in not just one area and red in not just one area, but kind of continuing throughout. Maybe I actually want to have this color throughout the composition, so it doesn't make a single place of the layout seem off like the others. And as you can see, I don't plan that much. I'm just taking a flower and then almost immediately gluing it down. It depends on your scrapbooking style. Some people are really good at kind of pondering really heavily on the composition. I'm more like dip, 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 done. So it depends how you work. But to me, this is working the best, because I've tried sometimes doing it slower and really ponder about where to place every embellishment, and the end result was just terrible. So that just going with the flow is kind of my kind of going. Oopsie daisy. Then a piece of thread to the other side, because like I was saying, the elements kind of need to continue from side to side. So now there's thread also, maybe on this side as well. Usually the embellishing part is the kind of taking the longest, because you can always add a little bit more and a little bit more. So then the crystals. Oh, there's one stuck there, so let's add that one to the layout. And again, as you can see, I'm kind of circling. I've now set my mind about the horizontal bulk thing, and again going just around, following that lead I have going on, and then kind of playing with the crystals that they would just fall to the page, kind of effortlessly flowing from one place to the other. And then these, let's get through these, as these are again gorgeous, from the Darcelle collection. Please focus to the bird, thank you. Like, look at the little bird, and then there's butterflies, and then there's handy words that go to every page or a card. Then little letters, and I really like the typewriters in this one. I'm thinking of doing a series of ATCs with the typewriters. Then maybe the 10, because I used 2 in the other one. Love, family. This is kind of really versatile collection, I think, as you can do whatever. You can use it to get your grandmother or like grandparents' tales scrapbooked, or maybe the 40. So, but you can also use it to family pictures or make pretty cards. One there. I had a butterfly in the other layout. Let's follow that kind of blindly. No, I'll save him for another page. Let's tuck these in. And then comes the fun part. Well, it's all been fun. But adding the textural elements, it's just the last one. So you could use it, the layout, like it is. But if you have an urge to play with mediums like I have, then there's one more thing to do. So I'm opening a jar of soft gloss gel to add here some little textural details. And why gloss? Because the textural details are also shiny, sparkly. So if I would use a matte version, they would dull the shine. Naturally, that is something you want, so it's not that shiny, glittery, then by all means use the matte one and experiment. But I always try to use the gloss version whenever I add glass beads or glitter or the micro beads. And in this layout I add here every one of those. So I'll add a touch of the soft gloss gel, and as you probably know, it's white now, but it will dry clear, so I don't have to be too careful. If I get it on top of the crystal, for example, it will dry clear later on, and as it's glossy, it doesn't hinder the shine. And if I add it kind of too much and don't want the whole of that area where I added the glue to be covered, then it doesn't matter. And always go from the biggest grains, the grain size, to the smallest one. So the bigger ones have a lot of adhesive to adhere to, and then kind of fill in the gaps with the smaller ones. So these are, heippa Karita! Joo, viimeisiä juttuja täällä laitellaan, mutta nauhoitushan on sitten saatavilla jonkun ajan kuluttua, ja tosiaan kysyä vaan. So if you're just joining in, I'm kind of adding the finishing details now, but the recording will be available soon. And if you have any questions, just leave them and I'll answer them later, right after the show. So I'm first adding the biggest grain size, the glass beads. These are cobalt colored to kind of mimic the gorgeous blue that the Darcelle collection has. Then some berry colored micro beads on top. And even though these are looking like pale purple in here, they kind of match because they take some of the blue from the glass beads and they match to the overall color scheme. And as you can see, I'm just sprinkling them on to the soft gloss gel. There's going to be this dropping sound when I then lift the layout up. So ideally leave it to dry for a while and then just pour the excess off. Before adding the last detail, I'm adding a bit of splashes because I want it to like, that one is going to cover my photo nicely, or actually my face, so I don't get a splash there. But it's a fun detail, but also when I'm adding the glass glitter as the last one, then if there's a big blob of paint, some of the glitter will actually then stuck to that one as well, so I'll get maybe a bit more glass glitter on top, because the grain size is bigger than the ones I added the berry micro beads. This is the way I actually did it to the other layout, the sample layout as well. So this is one of the new sparks, chest of gold I think it's called. I'm adding a little bit of water, just enough to get it flicked from my brush. And as you can see, I'm going all over, like on top of the flowers, on top of the paper layers. Only covered my photo because I don't want a big blob of gold on top of my eye, for example. It's kind of mimicking the gold we already have going on in the page in form of the embellishments. Some here still, and then I hope the soft gloss gel is enough, like it's not completely dried yet. Whoops, now there's gold as well. Well, a fun little detail. And this one is glass glitter copper. And then I'm again sprinkling that one on top. And I'm going a bit heavy-handedly because now there's the acrylic paint splashes. So some of the little flakes might end up grabbing to the paint instead of glue. So it's kind of continuing that textural element, that flicker of gold throughout the page. And that's it. It's done. One more tip though, which I didn't do in this one because I actually need time to find the right phrase for here. But let me show it from the sample layout, which is this, because the life is a balance of holding on and letting go. It kind of faded to the page because these are my two daughters growing up, so naturally I need to kind of find a balance between holding on and letting them go as they grow up, and someday, well, they are under 10 or 10 at the moment, but it will come that day. So when I cut those out, they were creating too much of a contrast to the photo, so they were like too harsh because the text is black and the background is somewhat white, creamy colored. So what I did, I cut that one out and as you can see there's a difference, and the difference comes from masking tape, painter's tape. Yeah, no stamping, just cutting. But as you can see, that one is a bit too harsh, at least to my eye. So what I did was a simple piece of masking tape on top, so it still follows the kind of vintage tones that are in the page, but it hinders the harsh contrast, because the black isn't black anymore, but it's a toned down version. So that's a little trick you can use, especially if the background is kind of cream colored or tea colored or anything fitting that theme. Naturally, if you have, for example, pink and you have pink washi tape, you can use that one as well. But that's a little kind of hint. If you're worried that the contrast is too much, then a piece of tape might do the trick. So there you have it, all my little tips and tricks for this layout with the new gorgeous Darcelle collection. Here's the sample layout with all things dried. And please focus to the layout now. I'm hoping I'm not going to show you again my head. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. And then, as you might even hear, this one is not dried, and there's glass beads and glitter going everywhere. But I'm going to keep it drying like this for a while and then tip extra off, because if I'm doing that too early, I might lose something that will otherwise stick. So just be patient in that part, because the layout is done. Now you can prep for another project or do more embellishments, for example, because now these are cooled down, really cooled down, so I can just pop them off the mold. So really handy. And those waxes really do a huge difference, because now these are not looking pretty. They are kind of, well, not pretty, but when you add the wax on top, they are pretty. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, just leave them on the comment section and I'll go through them. I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope you love Darcelle as much as I do. And see you again. We'll do like live shows almost every week, so stay tuned for information. Thank you, Sharon, so much for helping me and modding. And again, thank you so much for coming. Kiitoksia kaikille suomenkielisille myös. Thank you. Bye!